You know, there must be something with this scarlet and gray connection. Every time I see him, he's got Ohio State gear on. How much Ohio State gear do you actually own?
A few things.
My hero.
There, you know?
Jack Nicklaus, of course. We're going to get to Pebble Beach in a moment. But the Pirates, Mr. Goslin, not as our late great colleague, meaning Goose Goslin, but the baseball player, led both majors in pinch hit appearances last year, can play anywhere in the infield. He's coming to the Pittsburgh Pirates because they've traded away to Arizona a right-handed pitcher, Frank Duncan.
Hey, Duncan was kind of a late bloomer for the Pirates. Had a good year in AAA last year, but Goslin, like you said, last year he played everywhere but center and catcher. So he's like Sean Rodriguez, in the fact he can play anywhere. He's a good ad. I mean, Adam Frazier was going to be that guy, but he's never really played all of those spots. It's always good to have a guy that can do multiple things. No guarantee that he'll be on the team because he was designated for assignment from Arizona before he was picked up by the Pirates. So it's not like he was a big part of Arizona's plans, but you know, he's another guy into the mix on the bench. On a bench, it's going to be likely far worse than last year. I mean, last year their bench was really good. This year probably won't be.
Right, Pebble Beach. It is beautiful. It is rustic along the Pacific shoreline, but the weather can get a little treacherous as it did yesterday. Number of golfers had to finish play, one being Jordan Spieth, who is really playing today. He is your leader at 5 under as we speak. But the weather can always be a factor at Pebble Beach, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Right now you can go on the Golf Channel and check it out, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Spieth is playing well. It's one of those unique events because you have to have the right temperament to be able to handle it. If your amateurs in your group are slow, or if they make a mistake and walk in your line, or if they're taking it way too seriously, it can affect the way you play. And some guys have issues with that, but all the big names are there. That's what makes it fun. I mean, not just in golf, but in entertainment. There's a lot of guys that were there. Even Bill Belichick's there. I don't know. He's slacking off. I mean, obviously he won a championship. Now he's not back in the room preparing for the draft. I don't think they really care about football up there in New England. But you've got Phil Mickelson making a bit of a run at 1 under, so he's not far behind. Sam Saunders, Arnie's grandson, is 2 under to start the day, and he's just getting underway with his round. So Jason Day's in the mix, Dustin Johnson. I mean, there are some nice names. Jim Furyk is off to a good start as well.
Sung Young Oh from Korea obviously just shot off the lead. Tell me about the wonderful Asian community and why golf has become such a big part of their life to where many of them are starring on the PGA Tour.
Well, it started with the women. I mean, the women have owned the LPGA Tour. I mean, it is by far dominated by Korean, Japanese women. They have just owned that circuit. And now the men are kind of following up a little bit. Not to the same extent that the women are, but you're starting to see some players from over there as well on the men's side.
Although Hideki Matsuyama got a win last week. That was nice to see. All right, let's talk some basketball. Pitt Syracuse tomorrow. We'll have it on 93.7 The Fan at the Pete. Close but no cigar. Then, of course, they beat Boston College. Where are they right now in the ACC? Just looking for wins, I think, right?
Well, they are pretty much where they should be. Maybe not the basement, but they're in that bottom half. I mean, whether Jamie Dixon or Kevin Stallings was head coach, they were going to be in the bottom half of the ACC because they didn't have depth. They're getting a little bit more from their depth. Justice Kithcart hit 3 of 3 from 3. When Jamel Artis went down, that was huge. That doesn't happen. They don't win that game at Boston College. They've been getting more production. Roselle Nix against Carolina was a really effective bench player. They can continue to get contributions from their bench, and if Artis can play. Now, he has a swollen ankle. Stallings believes he can play, and Ryan Luther's going to be out a couple of more weeks, so they're going to need some more from that bench. The other part of it I think you have to understand is Pitt was running through the gauntlet of their schedule. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had games, 2 games with Louisville within a couple of weeks, and then at Carolina, at Duke. Even if you have great teams, you're probably going to win, one of those 4? So they played the tough part of their schedule. Now they're getting some teams that they can beat. And I think Syracuse at home is a team they can beat, although Syracuse is playing really well. They've really come on.
All right, Duquesne will be at St. Louis. You have got Robert Morris taking on Wagner because they're just fresh off of a disappointing loss last night to Mount St. Mary. J.R. Junior Robinson led Mount St. Mary with 28 points. So regionally, what do you think? Everybody's looking for answers.
Robert Morris is starting to play better basketball. They really are. And they've gone back to their old philosophy. Man-to-man defense. They're manning up, especially at the three-point line. Mount's really good. Robert Morris gave them everything they had. They just had a bad stretch in the second half where they fell behind by 10, and they're just not built offensively to be able to make quick comebacks. They get their offense from their defense. I think long run that's going to help Robert Morris to get back to that philosophy. Duquesne, I don't know where they're at. I like Jim Ferry. I think he's a good coach. They made the big mistake of firing Ron Everhart, and Jim Ferry is nowhere near what Ron Everhart did at Duquesne. The best team of the four is West Virginia. They have Kansas State at home, and what Bob Huggins does is
big win against
remarkable.
Oklahoma. Absolutely. Two more things about basketball, then we'll wrap this thing up. Jeff Hathorn, the sports director, News Radio 1020, KDKA, and 93.7 The Fan. Ohio State and Maryland, Penn State and Illinois, just those two teams.
Well, Ohio State has two players dealing with family issues that they're going to miss. They're not a deep team. That's going to be a tough one for them against Maryland. And for Penn State's had a couple of top 25 upsets at home. Will Penn State be patient enough with Patrick Chambers? You know, he's made some strides, and then they'll fall back into some losses. They're, I believe, a game or two over 500. They've been fairly representative in the Big Ten this year, and the Big Ten is down. Big Ten is not very good this year. Purdue's good. Maryland's pretty good. Indiana is average. I mean, they don't have Michigan State is down. Michigan is I mean, they just don't. There isn't a lot of talent in the Big Ten this year.
Sidney Crosby tomorrow night, Arizona. Does he reach 1,000 points?
You know, you
You
got to think this is going to happen. Brian Rust not practicing today, so it doesn't look like he'll be available tomorrow. But if Kenny Malkin comes back, and that's the trickle down. If Malkin comes back, maybe not as much attention on Sid's line. Maybe opens up some things for Sid. Sid's still playing well, and it's going to come. There's a selfish part of me that would rather him do it at home, though.
February 13th, pitchers, catchers. I'm sure you're going south, right?
Going south next month. Chris Mack will be there for the fan, and they picked up that utility infielder. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storylines with this team unless they make a trade. The back half of that rotation, who plays first base? Is Josh Bell going to recover from that knee injury? And how does Kutch deal with right field? All those, plus the time away for the World Baseball Classic, and Jung Ho Gung probably won't be there to start spring training because of his DUI hearing in Korea.
And finishing on golf, Tiger's going to back spasm, going to miss a couple of tournaments. He's going to be gone until March, right?
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
know.
look good. I mean,
know.
listen, the guy is great. He changed golf with the way he worked out. But in my opinion, and
Too
several
much.
others, he didn't work out correctly for his sport. He worked out correctly to be buff, but he didn't work out correctly for his sport, and he blew out his knees. He's had 4 knee surgeries, 3 back surgeries. I think a lot of that has to do with the way he lifted.
Great commentator now, but I also think David Duval, the former world #1, he did the exact same thing.
May have. I mean, you look at some of the guys that last. They're not bodybuilder guys. They did some weight training.
They're golfers.
But they did the right type of weight training. You can have a little tire and play golf. You don't have to be buff to hit the ball as far as some of those guys do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible talent of Jeff Hathorn, News Radio 1020, KDK, and 93.7 The Fan. Have a great weekend.